There are many kind of applications of acceptance in everyday life, but this is one of the big ones. We are not very good at accepting the painful thoughts and feelings that are an inevitable part of life. And the thing is, like with a reality slap, the slap wears off pretty quickly. You know, you can be in a, like for really big events, sudden, death, or your house burns down or something like that. You may be in a state of shock for a few weeks, but most commonly it kind of wears off in a few days. But what you're left with then is the reality gap. The slap's worn off, but then there's a big gap there, a big gap between what you want and what you've got. And the bigger that gap, the more painful the feelings, right? And your mind tries to get you to close the gap, close the gap, close the gap. What can I do to close the gap? And obviously, if there's something you can do to close the gap that is not going to open up even bigger ones, then it makes sense to do it. But many of these life events, there's no way to close the gap. If somebody you love is dead or dying, you can't close that gap, ever. So what do we do when we're faced with a huge reality gap? One of the first things we need to do is learn how to deal with the inevitable pain. When there's a big gap between the reality you want and the reality you got, you're going to have lots of painful feelings.